morning, everybody. Are you awake? Ready to play? Okay, well, it's a great pleasure to be here today, and it's a great pleasure to be starting this hopefully very interesting day. Okay, so I have a few confessions to make. First of all, I'm a psychologist. Is that okay so far? It gets worse, because I'm a positive psychologist. Okay, anybody heard about positive psychology? Come on, try again. 4 people, okay, great. Okay, so what does it bring to mind, positive psychology? Any ideas? Okay, there is negative psychology. That's what people usually say. Actually, there is, yes. I mean, the kind of psychology as usual, we usually say. We don't say negative psychology, we just say psychology as usual. Kind of the usual people, kind of you feel bad, you feel sad, you feel, I don't know, miserable, you go and see them, okay? That's not me, okay? Great. Yeah? Feeling better? Okay. Well, just to explain a bit more seriously, positive psychology is a movement within the field of psychology that started from approximately 1998, 1999 in the States with somebody called Martin Seligman. And this field of psychology looks fundamentally into all these topics that we are doing today, personal growth type of topics, and approaches them from a scientific perspective. Kind of we study it, okay? We do experiments, we try to figure out if it works. All different type of topics contributing to the good life. Basically everything that enables people not just to live a life, but kind of live a great life, to really thrive, to flourish. Topics such as motivation, character strengths, personality strengths, wisdom, soft skills, emotional intelligence, resilience, for example. Lots of these type of questions. How do we make sure that companies work well? How do we make sure people want to wake up in the morning and go to work and they're engaged in when they're getting there, etc. These type of questions and topics, and there are lots of them. So I'm a professor of this discipline. Actually, this discipline is quite well sort of spread out now in the world of psychology, and there are approximately now 30 universities teaching it at a master's level. So I've been teaching it at the master's level since 2006, when I founded the first master's program in Europe in this discipline. And so this one part of me is a professor. Professor nowadays actually mainly work with graduate students in terms of postgraduate students in terms of doctorate students. Okay, so that's one part of confession. Second confession today, okay? And it's an important confession. It's, well, yesterday I said something that I don't know anything about design. Well, I've changed my mind overnight. So I'm not going to pretend to work in the design field. I do not. I don't belong to this industry. However, I realized I do know something about design because I spent my life designing products to translate what we know in psychology to general public, designing programs, university programs, for example, training programs in organization. So designing quite a lot of things, actually designing processes, doing experience design. And I have also realized, as I was listening to you yesterday, that I have a personal experience of design. One of my 5 children, I mean, most of them are grown up, is a failed designer. He is a graphic designer who hated his design education. He hated because he had no autonomy or no capacity to express what it is that he wanted to express, in fact. And then he moved on saying, anyway, AI is going to do it all for me. I quit. So that's my personal experience of design. I have another confession to make. So usually when I do this type of presentation, I would use PowerPoints. And as I was looking through all my PowerPoint slides before coming here, I realized that there is kind of a gap between what they look like and what I would like them to look like. And well, if I notice this gap, you're probably going to notice that gap, right? Because you are designers. So I decided I'm not using them, okay? So a bit of kind of self-consciousness here, etc. And the final confession for today is that I was going to talk about time. Well, I changed my mind again. And the reason I changed my mind is because I probably would need a bit more time to really talk about time, to make an actionable difference. So I should change it to another topic, which I hope you can actually walk away and do something with a little bit easier than the big question of time. Let's just solve the kind of time and space problem in 20 minutes, okay? Yeah. So no time for today. If you want any time, that's over lunch, okay? So the topic we are going to be talking today about is called soft skills and strengths. And hopefully that would make a bit more sense in light of what you've been saying yesterday when you were saying why you are here and why you would like to change design education. So let's start. Strengths. Why strengths? Why soft skills? Well, very simply, how are we preparing our young people today for the future? What are we actually doing to prepare them for the future? For the future that's where they're going to be competing with AI, for the future where their jobs are going to be changing every couple of years, where they need to be changing their jobs all the time and changing their skill set to adapt to survive for the future with just a little bit of climate change then there, right? For the future, that's not going to be that easy, right? What are we doing over and above skills? Technical skills, practical skills, to prepare them for the future. Because when you're fired, it's not just the technical skills that are going to get you to bounce back. When your job no longer exists because something else does it better, it's not just the technical skills. Obviously, technical skills are extremely important and you need to keep constantly on top of your game. But what is it that's keeping you on top of your game? What is the underlying factor? What is the underlying thing that drives you to keep reinventing yourself? And so this is why we are talking in psychology, etc., about this notion of psychosocial skills or soft skills, otherwise said. Soft skills, those capacities, those kind of intangible capacities that enable us to function well in the outside world, to communicate, to connect, to understand the situation, to work in teams, to bounce back, to understand yourself better, to develop confidence, this type of soft skills. So this is one of my big passions, is actually working on those soft skills, including resilience and emotional intelligence, for example, including motivation, etc., including communication. But then I'm telling you, skills and strengths, what's the difference? Soft skills, strengths. Anybody would like to define a strength? What's a strength? I mean, I don't mean that sort of strength, okay? Kind of. Go.
You probably know the definition by Marcus Buckingham.
Yes, excellent.
Which says that strength is some ability which gives you even more strength when you do it.
Okay, so strength is something you're good at. And as you keep using it, you actually become better. That's a really good beginning, because that's actually what the person who defined the strengths field. Nowadays, I would use another definition coming from Alex Linley. A strength is basically something that, yes, you are good at, that feels authentic. So it feels like it's you. It's real you, fundamentally. So when you're using it, you are performing well, basically. But also, not only you are performing well, but you also derive energy from the use of strengths. So when you use it, you actually sort of kind of come out of the situation we've been working for 8 hours, or 10 hours, or 12 hours in some fields, right? And you actually feel energized, right? And the strength is something we use relatively often. So basically, if we compare soft skills and strengths, basically strengths are, let's say, personalized, individualized soft skills, which correspond to your personality. And the question is, of course, we can develop all of the soft skills. That's great. Well, good luck. You kind of take all 60 of them, 100 of them, and kind of make sure everybody has all of them. It won't work. Because fundamentally, we have the inclination towards some of those soft skills, some of those strengths more than others. And what's really interesting, that's coming from the Gallup research that Marcus Buckingham was in the origin of, what's really interesting is that when we use strengths, there is kind of no limit. And people who really succeed in life are not necessarily people who spend hours and hundreds of hours repairing something they can't do, but rather people who have identified their strengths relatively early in life and actually put more effort and development into something they're already good at. fundamentally. And this is what enables us to go far further. And of course, you are here sitting in discipline characterized by one strength, right? What's that? What's kind of the main strengths associated with the field of design? Thank you. Creativity, absolutely. But it's creativity and creativity and creativity and creativity, okay? It's creativity with what? It's not just the creativity. It's also creativity, and for somebody, the critical thinking capacities. For somebody else, it's creativity and a love of beauty. For somebody else, it's creativity with communication. For somebody else, it's creativity and capacity to make deep connection. For somebody else, it's creativity with authenticity. And I'm just combining the two right now. There are many more strengths combinations, millions of them. And this is what actually defines us and what makes us unique and what makes us us fundamentally. And why strengths and why using strengths so important is actually ticks so many boxes. When we use strengths, when we are aligned with our strengths, we are happier. Actually, our well-being is higher. We are more engaged. We want to wake up in the morning. We are more motivated. We have higher resilience. We have the capacity to bounce back from difficulties. We have this higher motivation. We also have better capacity for time use because we are more motivated, more aligned with the tasks, with what we are doing. We have a better capacity to define where it is we are going in life. So strengths are absolutely fundamental for defining our precise career path. Because we know you train design students, they don't just come out, do design, right? They do so many different variations and combinations of design, and sometimes they go into fields that haven't even existed yet. And then sometimes they have to sort of invent their own profession. And it's actually the understanding of what you are particularly great at that enables you to sculpt your place in the world and actually to become you and to define yourself. And it is also this combination of strengths, awareness of them, use of them, that usually produces higher results. I mean, it's very simple, right? It's not rocket science. I do something I'm great at, I usually experience flow, I love it, and when I finish, usually the result is better than when I'm doing something I hate, right? Or I'm not that particularly good at. So what that builds, fundamentally, is something called confidence. So it's actually looking back and realizing what it is that I've done and how it worked that is conducive to confidence. So does it make sense? So strengths, I would say, it's really a really important responsibility of every parent, of course, but of course of every teacher, to be on this strength spotting side, to realize and to help realize our students what they're great at. Because sometimes, actually, we can be blind to our strengths. Very simple. We can be so good at something that we don't see it. I remember it's actually taking a strengths test in my sort of mid-20s that actually pushed me into PhD, because I wasn't sure about doing PhD. Because I was thinking, like, what's the point of kind of sitting there at the university just doing research? I mean, it's great, it's very interesting, but like, how can you impact the world? Well, I ended up doing PhD, of course, and actually impacting the world later with practical stuff. But at that point, like, should I even do it? And I remember taking this test, strengths test, one of the strengths tests that exists, and I actually realized that, like, top strength was love of learning. And I look at it and saying, like, love of learning, like, yeah, okay. It was so obvious that I didn't say it. And it's like, okay, of course I should do a PhD. I had like the best time of my life. You kind of go away into the hall for 3 years, don't come out, and you just learn. That's fantastic, isn't it? It's like, I mean, great fun for people who have love of learning. Probably most of you do. Anyway, so it's like really, really important to realize what your strengths are and this unique combination of the strengths. And how can you do it? How can our students do it? There are tests, things like the Gallup Strengths Finder, for example, or the VIA, another strengths test from Values in Action Foundation from Positive Psychology, another one called the Strengths Profile. If that's of interest, I can actually sort of get you to explore this test, some of them. But it's not just about the tests. It's about the tests, finally, a little bit, but it's also about self-awareness. It's also about discovering. It's also about feedback. feedback of others around you. It's also about the so-called sort of positive 360, when people around you pick up on something you're great at and give you feedback. Of course, take into account the growth mindset. Not that you're just amazingly creative, but right now you've shown this strengths of real appreciation and sensitivity to beauty. So it's actually very important not to fix it when you're giving the feedback. So does it make sense? Yes? And you, in your capacity of teachers, of professors, of people who accompany young people, you have a really difficult responsibility, really important responsibility. Your responsibility is also to help them realize and understand who they are in their complexity, not only in their technical complexity, but also in their psychological complexity. So you have this responsibility of the strength spotter and the strength communicator in the way that we give feedback or we connect to young people. So, if this sounds good, or at least sounds a little bit good, we're going to play right now with strengths. And we're going to do it in two different ways. First of all, we're going to play with strengths focusing on yourself. So kind of forget the young people, forget the students, forget design education, forget all of the above. The first part of the exercise is going to be focusing on you. And the second part of the exercise, we are going to translate it back to design education and actually think what it is that you can do in your actionable capacity to help people to realize strengths. And as we go through that, what I would like you to keep in mind is a kind of three-step process. So what's important about strengths. And I'm going to call it 3A. Very simple, you know? It's like apple, let's start with A. Important ingredients. Step number 1 is strengths awareness. Understanding and realizing what your strengths are. And it actually, to be perfectly honest, we're going to do it in a small snapshot today, over sort of next 20, 30 minutes. It really does take a lot longer to really pinpoint very precisely your strengths and the combination of strengths using different triangulation methodologies. But we are kind of going to touch on it a little bit. So awareness of what your strengths are. Step number 2 is alignment. Because when people realize strengths, they discover their strengths, they usually go, great, I have strengths. I mean, well, it's good for self-esteem, right? To realize that you are great, you can stroke yourself on the head and feel very proud. It doesn't stop there. So just realizing your strengths doesn't change anything, really. It's sort of a nice, pleasant experience. It boosts your positive emotions. They will go down, don't worry. So the second step is alignment or realignment of your life activities, including your professional and personal activities, to be more in line using more of your strengths. And when they say alignment and realignment, it's sometimes using more of the strengths you're not using. It may also be sometimes dialing down some of the strengths you are using too much. Because there is such a thing as over-reliance on some of the strengths, and that has a great shadow side. You can get exhausted by overusing, over-relying on a couple of strengths. Okay, so it's really alignment and realignment of your life and professional activities with strengths. And the final stage, really, is action. It's just doing it, being sometimes aware of it. When faced with choices, making choices that actually ensure that you are in that flow, best zone most of the time. So it's awareness, alignment, action. Simple as that. Okay? And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to invite you, I'm going to explain the first part here, and then I'll invite you to get up and start playing. So we are going to be doing, in kind of like in a proper design experience, right? We are going to be doing it hands-on. And in doing it hands-on, so we're going to get up and go into 4 tables over there. Don't get up yet, because there are some instructions, precise ones to follow. And the first instruction is going to be, is that people who are who don't speak German, basically, go to this table, okay? So please wave if you don't speak German. Okay, how many of you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, great. I need about 8. So I need people who don't speak German or for whom German is not their first language, okay? Kind of, they prefer English, basically, to end up at that table, at the first table, okay? I do also need to make sure, for the rest of you, basically, that you kind of split evenly between the tables, because the duration of the exercise is very much determined by the number of people on the table, around the table. So if you have 10 at one and 5 at another, we're going to be not great. So basically, it's kind of 8 people per table, approximately, sort of English preference speakers are here, and other tables can be German-speaking perfectly, because you actually have the stimuli materials in German. And what you will have for the first exercise, you actually have something called strengths cards on the table, which is basically a set of cards bringing together 50 of the most used strengths from all different classifications. And so you have the picture on the one hand, you actually have the text on the other one. Please don't spend your life reading the text, because we don't have enough time. So what I would like you to do for the first exercise is to walk around first and pick up 3 strengths which you are absolutely sure are your strengths, which means you feel authentic, you feel it's me, you are doing great work when you're using strengths, and you get energy. Because there is a difference between the strengths and the learned behavior or competence. Competence is something we do well, we are performing well, but we don't get the energy from, we don't get that sort of boost from. And actually the biggest sort of danger for burnout is not using your weaknesses. I mean, most people have figured that out by now, but actually using your competences or learned behaviors rather than using your strengths. That's the biggest danger for burnout, for example. Okay, so you pick up those 3 cards, something you're really great at, and you tell a story. So you actually make sure they come to life. So you actually really tell an anecdote, or 3 anecdotes, in fact, 3 stories, or like 1 story, if you can bring them all together, showing how using your strengths. Not like, oh, that's my creativity strengths, well, you know me, I'm a designer, bye. No, not that story, okay? So, real story, illustrating it. And then listen to other stories as we go around. And what's also another really important rule is that sometimes you have to say it to adults, we have to share them, all right? Because there is only 1 creativity strength. There is only 1 communication strength on the table. So once you have used that strength, please put it back down, okay? So that other people can pick it up. Because honestly, we can share. And that's really an important process here. And obviously, once you have told your story, please make sure to listen to other people's stories. They're usually rather interesting. Okay? Is that good? Let's go. Couple of tables went a bit further and played with the happiness dashboard, linking well-being and strengths. Couple of the tables I tried, but I couldn't get through because they just didn't want to know that they exist. They were just so excited. Anyway, so different experiences. But I have a final experience for you to play with, because we spoke a little bit about strengths as applied to yourselves and your own realizations and discoveries, strengths and well-being. But now kind of, let's talk about strengths and students. So, a question is the following. what can you do to enable your students to realize, discover, become aware of their strengths, sort of ensure this high alignment between their strengths and their professional career, and also really put them into action? What can you do in your capacity to enable that to happen? And to answer this question, because there are a bit too many of us, right, we're going to play another game. This is another card game called Hex. Very difficult to understand why Hex, right? Because there is a hexagon. Okay. And what you have here in this game, you have a combination of kind of images, but sort of more mundane images, some keywords in orange, some symbols in blue, and strengths as well in green. All the green cards are strengths. And what I would like you to do is to walk around looking for your answer and pick up between 1 to 3 cards that would enable you to answer this question. And you'll have about 5 minutes to do so. Once you're ready, please come back here, all right? And then we're going to answer together. So somebody is going to lay down the card with their answer, suggesting an idea. And then if somebody else has a similar idea, you can actually grow sort of by attaching your card to this original card. So what this game enables you to do is actually to develop a clustering approach to get the themes together. So what I'm looking for is the themes of action, not just different ideas of action, bringing them together into kind of clusters and themes. Okay? Let's go, you have 5 minutes. Okay, so how it's going to work? This is where you really need to pay attention to what other people are saying. So somebody, whoever it is, can start the story and actually put down their suggestion. It can be one suggestion, can be 2 or 3 suggestions, they can be linked together, they can be separate. And then as other people are listening, then it can come up and contribute to the suggestion, but you have to explain it as well. Not in great length, but actually a little bit, like, we can do that. And somebody else comes in saying, oh, we can do it, actually, I have a similar idea, we can do it this way, etc. So what I'd like to see is kind of clusters growing. Not just one big cluster, but kind of different clusters growing, okay? And it's a beautiful black floor, so we can actually see these clusters very clearly. But you do need to listen. So, who would like to start? Yes, please.
And I don't have to listen to the others? No.
That's convenient. You're right, you're right.
Okay. Genau. Inspiration is missing, I think, because especially in working spaces, people don't believe that something can change. Most of the times. And then I think what is missing is a little bit of witty, like just doing stuff and being different, because it's really hard to be different on the working space, and to show maybe also crazy parts of yourself, and to just be, and to, be a little witty. And what I also think would help is relationships. What I mean is have more honest, maybe more authentic relationships, also in working spaces, and believe in them, and also try to get inspiration.
Okay, we have lots of great noise. Great.
I have something to add to the middle one, because I think it's not only important to listen to your crazy side, but also to your playful side. I sometimes think, oh, you're an adult now, you have to be serious, but no, sometimes you need more playful approaches to problems. Okay, I'll start another one for compassion. So feel free to add your ideas.
I think I could connect to inspiration with my card of love. To do anything, what you do with love, with focus. And the other thing, I'm not sure I have to connect it especially here, but it's spirituality. So to believe that at the end everything will be fine, and if it's not fine, it's not the end, and to have the trust to do everything, yes, with love, with convincement, with passion, and this could be, maybe I could separate this, and it could create a lot of change in all our common behaviors, in the trust and in the love we do everything.
But I can still. It's fine. I will add something. So to the cluster here of inspiration, I picked the fairness, and I think it fits quite well to give feedback and to be fair about what you do, positive and negative. And to the witty and joyful part, the lemons, try out different things and make something of it.
To the last one, I add the card fails, because I think this is to give them or encourage them that what they have learned in school all the time to be right and to the right things, but you also have to be try out things, and then you can fail, of course, and this is innovation. It goes, I think, to inspiration. And I had this question mark here. So.
Thank you. I see a connection. I try to establish it. I have the term of curiosity.
I mean, you can set another one if you want.
Yes, I think that's my way now. Curiosity, which is, of course, connected to innovation, inspiration, I think. And if I want to nurture the students, maybe to nurture their curiosity, I have this barefoot symbol. So it's not only walking, because I believe physical activity in space is important for developing curiosity and thinking, but also taking your shoes off. So it's maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm glad there's nature, and as often as possible I want to leave the building of our design school and get out with them. So this is maybe we can start playing there. Yeah, okay, so.
Okay. Okay, I have opportunities, because starting from the task, maybe what would I like to nurture in the students, I was thinking what I would like the students to see and to encourage them to do is to actually adapt the tasks that teachers reach out to them, that they have the courage to see opportunities in a given task, to even interpret it in a different way and go down a different route. So rather than seeking to provide the expected result, I would like them to regard any student assignment as an opportunity which they can use for themselves, because these are their studies and they are those who have to get the most out of it. So I have opportunities which I would put maybe I don't know, maybe somewhere here. And then I have vulnerable, which is a card Sandra was interested as well. Vulnerability I would like to associate with relationships. I think only when we are vulnerable, or we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we can open up to maybe also new knowledge, to our personal. It can open up, it's a door to personal development. I think every learning starts from the assumption that we know little. Relationships, I think, are very important because they can encourage this vulnerability. Otherwise, without the relationship, it wouldn't actually even come out or become visible. And then I have zest, like lemon zest. I'm not even sure why I chose this card. I will place it next to the lemons. And I think it's something that's just, by the word, sounds great. I think it's even being used as a kind of adjective in the English language, but I wouldn't be sure what it means. Maybe something like someone who is courageous or outspoken or zesty. I don't know.
Yeah, I would like to link up to the vulnerability and the relationship with the term I think you already mentioned in your first comment, namely honesty. So that you have to be honest or truthful in what you what you think, what you bring forward, what you say in such a context. And of course, the other thing is it takes time. Now, I was a bit clumsy in choosing a card which shows that, so I took the forest. These are old trees, right? So it takes time. And of course, you have to practice, right? You have to do something. So I also put the hand there. So these are my 3 cards.
I have the same impulse as you. Okay. My one is the responsibility for the relationship. And I'm opening up a new one. We have to be at the moment, right at the moment.
Relationships spoke to me as well because I picked a card for trust. When I think about the educational figures and teachers that helped me grow, I immediately think of people that gained my trust and that gave me trust and that told me, you are to be trusted with the responsibilities that you have. So this is the card I picked. And this one, because trust sparks compassion too. And also what I find very helpful in relationships is humor. The people that gave me the impression it's okay to not always be serious about your craft and to play and to have a good time, basically, to have fun at what you do. This is also, this goes here.
Well, I actually would like to contradict maybe a little bit the situation here, because it's all about motivation and keeping the sparkle in the students. But actually, I want to bring here work. Work, because that sometimes, of course, we lose motivation and sometimes we don't know where to get to, but you have to work and be perseverant. I think that these are 2 things that are very important, because maybe the end of the road is a happy place, but sometimes the road, it's a bit of a struggle, but you have to go through the road. So that's what I'm also trying to also tell my students, that without transpiration, inspiration doesn't happen. But also, I also wanted to bring, anyhow, health, because I think this is very important in many different stages, because even though we are working hard and maybe we're not in the right place, we have to be aware of it and being sure that we are always in a healthy place, that mentally and physically we are healthy. So actually, I didn't know anymore where to put this.
Put it anywhere else.
It was a bit collected, maybe with this, like somehow like as a state of.
And in your working perseverance connected with relationships.
Relationships, whereas with it's more relationships. I don't know. It was a bit like this, or yeah, we can put it here.
It's okay.
Work and perseverance. This is the hard working.
And why did you say it contradicts what you just
Yeah, I don't know, because sometimes, well, my students, I have literally students saying it's like, but could you please tell me how could I work into something that it's not exciting the whole time for me, or that it doesn't keep me motivated like all the time? It's like, well, like sometimes you just have to go through things. And maybe it's like a big melon. Maybe some slices are really good, but some others are not that good. What are you going to do? Throw the whole thing to the bin? You have to go through some parts of maybe the profession or assignments that might be not so joyful, but you have to pull through and get through it. Actually, sometimes you learn things you discover things that you like without knowing or expecting that you will like them, if you don't put the work. That's why I actually tell my students, I try to motivate them a lot, but it's actually about, guys, we need to work. If we don't work, we're not gonna discover enjoyment somehow. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I'm really happy to see the relationship cluster grow, and I want to add to it with, where is it? Do I see it? Here, with friends, because usually when I start projects with my fellow students, you start with people you know, you start with people you trust, you start with people you understand, and those are usually already your friends. But then in those projects you learn about new people, and some of those people are what others might call difficult. But I don't really believe in people being difficult, I believe in people being misunderstood. And to really try to understand these people, you need to be kind, cluster connection. And the best way to really try to understand people and give their words space and time to listen to them is while eating with them, a proper breakfast, the most important meal of the day. And yeah, I really think that's the most important thing, to not only find new friends, but understand people who you might consider not being your friends at the start, because that might change, and I think that's great. Okay.
So building on being together, I chose this teamwork activity because I think you are already building a team now, and you can share and build your strengths based on what you are discovering and sharing here. So it's teamwork between you, but also with your students, and building on the strengths that they have as a team. Then for inspiration, creativity, I think we can be in the flow, and being in the flow means being in the present moment and just trusting what you have there in the present moment. And then I chose the boat because it's a kind of a journey. It's you are on a journey and together. So that's.
Thank you. Can I just ask everybody who didn't put the cards yet, if they just fit into the clusters, please just come and put them, and comment only on the new clusters that are emerging. So these clusters, just complete them. Anybody has anything? Okay. And anything that's different, that's actually a different cluster starting up, then please take the mic. Anybody wants a mic for a different cluster? No. Oh. Yes, please. Yeah. What are you saying? Excellent. We have work cluster growing.
Well, I think I would like to add something, because I have a very simple word. It's okay. And I think it somehow matches every cluster. So I just wanted to somehow put it extra, but right in the middle, because however you feel, it's okay. That sometimes things are a struggle. Well, that's okay. If everybody's having a great time, but not you, okay. So, yeah.
Well, that's a good recipe for resilience. Yes, please. Just help yourself. Just put it in the middle.
Yeah. Thank you. So I have a card which says the appreciation of beauty and excellence, which I would like to put with work.
Work. That way.
And at the same time, my second card is the balanced card, because there has to be a balance between the out of work thing and the work. So this is what I want to put somewhere in between. And this is something which, summarize everything I want to say. There is work, but there is some pleasure in it, and then there is pleasure with work in it, and there are a lot of things. So it's not binary, it's somewhere in between and within each other, so entangled.
Great, thank you.
I have the love of learning, and in my experience, students think, oh, I have my bachelor's, I have my master's, great, I don't have to learn anymore. So I think learning has to be redefined, the way we do things, the way we solve problems, and a lot of students think, oh my God, this is a theory seminar, I'm learning something. No, you're learning something all the time, and please never stop learning.
Yes, I have two more things. Maybe one fits to another. I love the love of learning. And maybe one card here, this is Imagine, like the hippie artist card. But I think imagination is another thing than inspiration. If I'm inspired, I feel good, I feel, wow, nice people, beautiful things. That imagination is a creative thing. It does not falls from the sky. It's if I dislike something, maybe we're talking about the education system. How should it be? How can it be? What would be the best I can imagine? And then if it's possible to share this imagination, maybe you can change something. But I think this kind of vision is not something naturally existent. It's something you have to create in your mind. So this is the artist card for everybody. And this is the other side of it. Sometimes if you, for example, imagine a better system or something what you dislike, sometimes it's time to deconstruct things you don't need anymore, like boundaries or obsolete things. So you make, okay. So. This is what you did also, take apart the things sometimes. Yeah. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. I love the clusters. Yeah, all the inspiration and obviously, yes, being crazy and showing yourself for who you really are through this craziness and authenticity and relatedness. And yes, let's not forget to work, because sometimes we discover the same strengths through working, sometimes by doing something you never tried. So these are great ideas to get started, and thank you very much for playing. And please don't forget that you, in your capacities, in your roles, you are the strengths detectives, the strengths activators as well, and the strengths inspirers. Thank you.